Hello, my name is Jim Flano. Today, I'm back bringing you through all the weekend sports. We had kind of what some would say a quiet weekend in sports with very few things on, but in terms of what was on, was the big hit. And we had Connacht Championship, Munster Championship, and mainly Leinster in the Champions Cup. That's the three things we're going to dive in today. Let's get into it. So, we'll first start off with Munster Championship. Obviously, Kerry versus Clare. Kerry were absolutely unstoppable, it looked like, especially in the first 15 minutes. I think they were 16 points to about 2 points up. That could be completely wrong. Don't quote me. But that Kerry team probably looked to be motoring, probably the best that they did all year. Obviously, Clare being Division 3 side, Kerry being Division 1. I think a lot of people didn't expect it to be as one-way traffic as it was. The scoreline looked fairly glossy, 420 to 21 points to Kerry, but Clare were never in that game. David Clifford was absolutely exceptional, and personally, I'll always say this, I do think David Clifford will be the best footballer of all time. He showed that at the weekend why he probably is on track to be. The 2-5, bear in mind that one of the goals was just horrific, a tap-in, something that I'd probably score, and that says a lot about me rather than David Clifford. But the Kerry team, personally, if I just put money on who's going to take home the All-Ireland, because the All-Ireland, as mentioned, is as open as it has ever been, I would put my money on Kerry. I really like the way they're playing football. I think they've adapted to the new rules the best of all the teams. The way that they kick the football and the way that they move the ball, it just suits the Kerry style of football the best. Saying that though, there obviously is weak parts. Their defence, obviously, leaking 21 points probably isn't the greatest thing that you want in a Munster Championship final. Albeit, as mentioned, probably switched off towards the end when it's more or less a cricket score and you're not going to lose the game, you know. Still 420 to 21 points, very high scoring final. Like, I know that a lot has been said about the rules and if they're working, but 420 to 21 points I think perfectly shows you how these games can go. Like, that's a 50-point match. Obviously goals and whatnot. I know. I'm reaching, I know, but nonetheless, personally, I'm in huge favour of these rules, and I think that they're doing their job of what was to make football entertaining, make football attacking, and seems to be working so far. A stat I'll highlight is Clare had a 40% shooting accuracy compared to 81% of Kerry, which is ridiculous and shows just, in fairness, they were on top, but the accuracy of Kerry of 81% is absolutely unbelievable, especially after kicking 421. Business as usual, some would say, for Kerry, and I do really back them to go on. And they won't beat Roscommon, of course. They do have to play Roscommon, mind you, but I really do see Kerry going the way. Obviously, Roscommon playing Kerry down in Clarny. Lovely. Really, really easy job. Thank you, Michael Murphy, whoever is over that GA commission. Anyways, our next up is Castlebar as Mayo took on Galway. What a game we got. Probably in terms of a game that people didn't really expect. I would personally, before the game, I heard a lot of people writing off Mayo and saying that even the Clare game would be closer, or Clare would be closer to Kerry than Mayo would be to Galway, and Mayo silenced that from minute one. I think they kicked 1-2 in the first 5 minutes, and you're thinking, Jesus, Mayo can probably kick on here. Mayo seems to be kicking 2-pointer. It was one of those games where you had a big breeze coming down the pitch, in fairness, probably a bit like the Meath and Dublin game. I'll highlight Paul Conroy. I thought Paul Conroy was absolutely exceptional at the weekend. There was a 2-pointer in the first half by Paul Conroy, and it looked like it was 30-metre free to him. It looked like proper, just off the boot, not a bother on him. Obviously, the win was usually in favour for him, but nonetheless, you're seeing what these lads are kicking. And truly, these new rules, I think, have allowed for players to really expand their game. I'll go back to Kerry and say Shawnee O'Shea was absolutely exceptional. Pretty sure it was the first play of the game, he kicked a 2-pointer. This is Galway's 4th Connacht title on the bounce, which is tough to say as, I suppose, Roscommon supporter now. We still have 2019, up there, Murta. But once again, Galway and Mayo. Mayo were really impressed me at the weekend. Mayo did really impress me at the weekend. Galway well in a hunt for All Ireland, obviously without Damien Comer and Shane Walsh, to pull out a result like that, 117 to 115, and how close it could have been. Mayo had a 2-pointer. I think it was Jordan Flynn at the end who tried to kick a 2-pointer, and it just went wide. But you're inches from going to extra time in a game like that in what was an incredible game. As mentioned, I will keep on saying this. This is the most open championship we have had in years. And I suppose now we can probably go through all the groups. We have a rough idea. I know I'm probably be biased and you'll hate me, but in Group 1, you have the Ulster winner, you have Mayo, Tyrone and Cavan, which is ridiculous. Tyrone, Cavan and Mayo, obviously, and then I'm going to say Armagh, so it's probably looking like Armagh, Mayo, Tyrone and Cavan in the first group. Group 2 is Kerry, Personally, I think Meath will go on to win Leinster, which is huge for them, obviously. So you're looking at Kerry, Louth, Roscommon and Cork. So it's basically a shoot-off between everyone else, and Kerry will just lord that group. In Group 3, you have Leinster winner, so I've gone with Meath versus Clare, Monaghan and Down. Probably a very, very open group, actually, with Meath, Clare, Monaghan and Down. Monaghan, in my opinion, would probably win that. I think it'd be between themselves and Meath. As mentioned, 3 teams get out of these groups anyway, so yes, it's tight and yes, it's contentious, but realistically, if you're not, as long as you're not bottom, you're going through. It's not the hardest thing to get out of. And the last group, you've Galway. You've Galway, Donegal, Dublin and Derry. Now, sorry, I've predicted that Donegal are going to be runners-up in Ulster, of course, but that could well be Armagh. Galway, Donegal or Armagh, Dublin and Derry in Group 4 is absolutely insane. Who doesn't get out of that group? I genuinely don't know. That is a ridiculous group to look at, and even Dublin and Derry not being 2 top seeds is probably something we haven't seen in a few years, obviously after kind of the rise of Derry again. I don't know where the fuck they come from. Anyways, Dublin being Dublin will, of course, get out of that group, but realistically, I think probably the weakest in that group, and it says a lot, would realistically be Donegal or Armagh. I think Dublin and Derry, maybe Derry, I suppose, would probably be the weakest, but based on merit, whoever goes out of that group is a huge loss to the All-Ireland series. And now we'll move on to probably the thing that you're waiting for most, unfortunately. Me being biased about Leinster. So, what went wrong against Northampton for Leinster? Probably first off, and we'll talk about Sam Prendergast. I will hold my hands up and say I am biased to the bone, but I genuinely believe that Sam Prendergast was good against Northampton. 2 passes he threw were absolutely world class, and it's something that I'm adamant if Finn Russell did, it would be shown on every single news source under the sun. His first pass to Tommy O'Brien, which set up the first try for Leinster, and then I think it was the second try, he threw an absolute worldie to Max Egan, which Max Egan was able to throw off the ground to Josh Randall-Fleer, who went over for the try. 2 things that went completely under the radar. Is Sam Prendergast the finished product? No. Is he the best out half we have in Ireland? It's up for contention. Personally, I believe he is. Is this guy the future? 100%. Yes, as mentioned, I am biased, but Sam Prendergast's ceiling is through the roof. Look, we won't deny aspects of tackling and physicality might not be there yet, but let's look at a Johnny Sexton as he was 23, 24. I promise you, he wasn't Manu Tuolangi now. Plus, I wouldn't be able to tackle Henry Pollock either. Anyways, I seriously believe that now is obviously a crucial time, and should Prendergast go on a Lions tour, who knows? Obviously, it's probably in debate, which I will touch on in another video, probably the next video. I will record probably straight after this, actually. Sorry, I want to touch on Ben Youngs. Ben Youngs he was on his podcast, Love Rugby, which is a very good podcast, I will admit, and came out and said that Prendergast is only playing in Leinster system, and he's only playing in these games. This is essentially Sam Prendergast's first season of proper test rugby, whether that is on a club level or international level. Before this, he'd never made an appearance in the Six Nations. He started some of the group games. He didn't start any of the group games in the Champions Cup. This year, he's got a run. Did it work? I personally believe so. Leinster are 3 points off making a Champions Cup final. Look, unfortunately, the dream of 5 stars is over, but nonetheless, this Leinster team has such a future ahead. Obviously, it's probably unfortunate on Jordy Barrett that he doesn't get his 5th star on the Leinster jersey. But seriously, I think for Leinster now is just kick on and win the URC. Hats off to Northampton as well. I think a lot has gone unsaid about how good Northampton were compared to the narrative that Leinster were bad. I still maintain that Leinster were good. Maybe a few decisions weren't exactly taken the right way. Maybe taking 3 points at the end. Nonetheless, 2 were both outside the 10-metre line. 2 kicks that you're thinking aren't exactly, 100%. They're maybe 80-20. And in a game where you have 5 minutes left, I think one was in 75th minute and the other 79th, is you essentially lose the ball. It's a kick to draw the game to bring it to extra time. I still maintain going for the tap and go is the right play. Look, we're unlucky and a lot can be said, but I think we had 2 taps and goal that we got 2 tries off there. The first one by Caelan Doris and then the second one by James Lowe, I believe. If something like that is working to go on and win a game and bring you to a Champions Cup final, why change it to be in the last play of the game? I understand you have to do certain things to win games, but this is a tactic that Leinster used, obviously, to win the game. And obviously, on the probably downer of sides, it's going out today that Caelan Doris is probably going to miss the Lions tour, which is extremely unfortunate. Like, for a man that I dubbed personally to be the captain of the Lions, to lose so much in that one game against Northampton, not only a possible 5th star, whereas the captaincy of the Lions, who I imagine Itoje will captain the Lions now, it's a really tough situation to be in, and my heart goes out to Doris. Nonetheless, obviously, we can all imagine that this won't be Caelan Doris' last Lions tour. He is exceptional. He is the perfect captain. He is the man. And obviously, then you look at the latter side of things, where the question would have been, is Henry Pollock going on the Lions? If Caelan Doris is as bad as we assume he is, Henry Pollock takes that spot. Maybe not at number 8, but he's definitely on the plane, in my opinion. He was exceptional. Like, a lot said for before the game, and is he too cocky? Is he this, that, the other? I personally believe that Henry Pollock is an unbelievable thing for rugby. Like, the way that he goes about the game, with the way he holds himself. Obviously, you have this flashy, cocky kind of attitude, but that's drilled out of players at the age of 16 in rugby. Any lad that does that is taken off. And you have a lad doing it at international level is ridiculous. And people might question, oh, he can't do it on the big stage. The man has done it against the Irish pack, essentially. I'm a huge fan of Henry Pollock, and I do think he is incredible. But where they go from here now is kick on and win a Champions Cup and get yourself on that plane. Obviously, I understand that the plane is picked before the Champions Cup final. Nonetheless, I think himself, Finn Smith, and Tommy Freeman have done enough to get on that plane, undoubtedly. Also, a lot was said, why was Jordy Barrett left on the bench for Leinster? Personally, I wouldn't be against it. Obviously, I know my Leinster bias and whatnot, of course, but Robbie Henshaw is an incredible servant to Irish rugby, and I think in terms of who could make an impact off the bench and who starts, Robbie Henshaw has proven on so many occasions in a Leinster and Ireland jersey that he can come off, or he can play games, and he is as good as anyone in the world, if not one of the best. Jordy Barrett, on the other hand, obviously could have started, and probably would have been incredible. His stats have proven this year, and he is unbelievable. But to bring him off the bench and as cover for maybe 10, 12, 13 both wings and fullback is just that bit safer than starting him, in my opinion. Look, a lot to be said. Obviously, that is a decision that can go both ways, and I don't think anyone complains if Jordy Barrett starts and Henshaw doesn't. But at the same time, Leo Cullen has instilled some amount of faith, and obviously working with Henshaw over the last 10, 12 years, however long he's moved to Leinster. Is it 10 years? No, 2016, I think it was 9 years. Anyway, apologies. Nonetheless, this is a lad you trust, and this is a lad, if you want to win a Champions Cup semi-final, he's there. Obviously, a lot said, we all know how class Jordy Barrett is, and Jordy Barrett is undoubtedly one of the best in the world. That decision goes either way. And personally, from my perspective, it was the same with the Andrew Porter and Cian Healy. Cian Healy's incredible, but Andrew Porter has 80 minutes in him. If you can start Cian Healy for the 20 minutes, 25 minutes, half an hour, whatever you want to play him for, and Andrew Porter covers the rest, he is as good as anyone in the world. Jordy Barrett, on the other hand, obviously can cover every position across the back line. Bringing him off the bench with 30 to go, it didn't necessarily work. He was absolutely incredible, but it might just give you that difference. I don't know. I would rather that than maybe tire Jordy Barrett when we're coming into the last 20 of a game. Anyways, I'll stop being depressed. And obviously, an announcement. I'm going to London tomorrow and Thursday for the Lions squad announcement. So I will be there. I'll be vlogging. I'll be praying to God Sam Prendergast gets on that plane. And I'll be keeping you up to date. So be sure to follow. Be sure to like. Yeah. And I'll see you then.